The Senate will come back to order. The Senate will come back to order. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd. For a motion on House Bill 1390 on sheet number 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to rush HB 1390 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
House Bill 1390, a bill by Representative Anulewicz of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 34 of the OCGA relating to sex discrimination in employment, so as to provide for a right of action against a county's or city employer for retaliation and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 42nd has asked for unanimous consent to rush off the table House Bill 1390. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm honored to present House Bill 1390. This bill provides a cause of action for county or city employees who had experienced workplace harassment, made a charge or complaint about that harassment, and then been retaliated against as a result. So if you've experienced harassment, gone to your superiors or employers and said, I've experienced this harassment, and then they fire you or otherwise retaliate, this would create a new cause of action for that employee, and the employees that we are talking about are county or city employees. That's it in a nutshell. Happy to answer any questions if there are any. If not, I will yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
You do not have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Asking for a green vote on this very important bill. Thank you so much.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1390? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agree with the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. What purpose does the senator from the 32nd rise?
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 1186 be raised from the table.
Sorry, that motion is not recognized at this point. One moment.
Okay.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to unanimously consent to excusing the senator from the 39th.
Without objection, the senator from the 39th is excused.
Recognize the senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that House Bill 1186 be raised from the table.
Please read the caption. Correct?
House Bill 1186, a bill by Representatives Houston of the 170th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 44 of Title 43 of the OCGA relating to state speech language pathology and audiology licensing, so as to allow persons who are not licensed audiologists to use autoacoustic emissions or auditory brainstem response technology as part of a screening process for the initial identification of communication disorders in individuals up to age 22 and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st District Chairman. That completes the order, Madam President.
The senator from the 32nd has moved that HB 1186 be removed from the table. Is there objection? Hearing none, HB 1186 is removed from the table. I recognize the senator from the 32nd District to speak to HB 1186.
Thank you, Madam President. I hope y'all can all hear me. This bill allows an individual who's properly trained to do screening for hearing deficits in children to provide this service for kids up to 22 years old. Currently, they can only go up to 3 months, and abnormal results would be referred to an audiologist. Be happy to take any questions or yield the will.
Any senator have any questions? All right, I recognize the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Madam President. If this is the appropriate time, I need to excuse the senator from the 35th.
It is the appropriate time. The 35th? Yes. Anyone else have any questions? All right, you have no questions,
Thank
Senator.
you. I yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair hears none. Just keep reading. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. For what purpose does the senator from the 24th rise?
Mrs. President, I say. Aren't you the most beautiful president we had so far today?
Maybe today. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th for a point of personal privilege.
Right, y'all are almost finished with me. You know, my husband's family has deep ties to this body. His great-grandfather, Hamilton McWhorter Sr., was a senator and president of the Senate in 1933. And his great-uncle, Hamilton McWhorter Jr., also served as a senator and then as Secretary of the Senate for 25 years. But while those are the traditions of my husband and, of course, now my children, that they weren't mine. And I think for me, that is what has made serving such an honor. I was raised by a single mother who had a beauty shop, and that's where I went every day after school. And so I grew up listening to the women in my hometown talk about their lives and their problems. And what I learned was that no matter who you are, how many times you go to church, or how much you pray, bad things can happen to you. And when bad things happen, everyone deserves someone to fight for them. That's why I became a lawyer. That's why I ran for office. And that's why I serve. You know, it's bittersweet to be leaving. The last 5 years have been some of the most rewarding and challenging of my life. I tell people it's been a growth experience, and I think that's true. You know, and I leave the Senate probably most proud of the gains we have made in representation with respect to women. I'm not sure if Republicans know this or not, but women make up a supermajority of the Democratic caucus now in the Senate, and that's pretty incredible, pretty incredible. And I know the number of women running and serving is only going to grow. But I have to acknowledge the deep debt of gratitude I owe to my beloved family in this great state. This great state has made my life and service possible. I believe in this body, I believe in this state, and I even believe in each of you. So I'm going to leave you with one last admonition. If you don't remember anything else I've said, if you ever need a good lawyer, you know where to find me. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 50th.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to move from the table House Bill 1391.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 1391, a bill by Representative Gunter of the 8th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 12 of Title 17 of the OCGA relating to public defenders, so as to revise the compensation of public defenders and assistant public defenders and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 50th has asked for unanimous consent that House Bill 1391 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Chair now recognizes the senator from the 50th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to bring you House Bill 1391. This is a simple bill. What it states is that each circuit public defender shall receive an annual salary that's equal to the annual salary for the district attorney in the circuit. This is a good bill. It encourages retention of public defenders, and I ask for your favorable consideration. If there's any questions, I'm happy to yield for questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1391? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing with the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill? All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask unanimous consent that House Bill 1215 be dislocated from the table.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 1215, a bill by Representative Thomas of the 21st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-2-2089 of the OCGA relating to funding for state charter schools, so as to remove a provision that reduced the amount of certain funding provided by state charter schools that offer virtual instruction and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th District, Chairman. Mr. President, Senator Harbin of the 16th District and others offer the following amendment to amend House Bill 1215 by replacing lines 1 through 10 with the following: to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to elementary and secondary education, so as to provide that it shall be unlawful for Georgia public schools or participating private schools whose students or teams compete against a Georgia public school to operate, sponsor, or facilitate athletic programs or activities that permit a person of one gender to participate in an athletic program or activity that is designated for persons of the opposite gender and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 56 has asked that House Bill 1215 be taken off the table. Is there objection? There is objection. All those in favor of House Bill 1215 coming off the table will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 35, the nays are 19, and House Bill 1215 has been taken off the table. The chair now recognizes the senator from the 56th. For what purpose does the senator from the 41st rise?
Mr. President, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a point of order regarding the amendment.
Well, as soon as we speak to the amendment, we'll call that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1215 is a little cleanup charter school bill. It just specifically outlines and makes some corrections to the governing authority for charter schools. And the second thing it does, if that opening opens it up in a public charter school, a child can move from the current school to that school without waiting to the next school year. It's a very simple cleanup bill, and I believe the senator from the 16th will be recognized for his amendment after me. So if there are any questions for the actual charter school part of the bill, I will take those. If not, I will yield the well.
You don't have any questions.
Thank you.
For what purpose does the senator from the 16th rise?
Mr. President, I wish to withdraw the amendment that is on the bill and say that we passed this out of this chamber once already, and we need to protect the young girls, but I understand that there is a germaneness issue to this that's been discussed and decided on, is my understanding. So we will remove this amendment.
The senator from the 16th has asked unanimous consent that amendment number 1 be withdrawn. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and amendment number 1 is dropped. Withdrawn. Any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1215? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45, the nays are 9. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 31st.
Señor Presidente.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Gracias.
I humbly request that we take House Bill 923 from the table.
Ms. Secretary, please read the caption.
House Bill 923, a bill by Representative Oliver of the 82nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 36-62-5 of the OCGA, relating to directors, officers, compensation, adoption of bylaws, delegation of powers and duties, conflicts of interest, and audits of development authorities, so as to cap the per diem allowance available to directors of certain development authorities and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the Senator Burns, District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The senator from the 31st has asked that House Bill 923 be humbly taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 923, pretty simple bill. Basically, it's capping per diems for counties with development authorities with a population 550,000 or greater, and also requires that ethics complaints filed against these development authorities be filed with the Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission under this bill. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well, Mr. President.
You don't appear to have any questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 923? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53 in recognition of the one nay. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to reunite HB 1103 with this body.
Well done. Mr. Secretary, please read a caption.
House Bill 1103, a bill by Representative Chokas of the 138th and others. A bill to be entitled Act to amend Code Section 40-2-167 of the OCGA relating to separately stated fees in a rental agreement, so as to revise the definition of heavy-duty equipment motor vehicle and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Transportation recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Gann of the 47th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 14th has asked for unanimous consent for House Bill 1103 to be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none and recognizes the senator from the 14th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. In current statute, there's a mechanism for heavy-duty equipment rental companies to line item on their customer invoice a pro rata share of the personal property tax for that time they rent the equipment. This mechanism is currently allowed to be used on equipment above 5,000 pounds. This bill will simply be able to take that down to 1,500 pounds and above. With that, Mr. President, I'll yield to well unless there's any questions.
You don't appear to have any questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1103? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Question on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 46, the nays are 6. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I ask that House Bill 974 be taken off the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 974, a bill by Representative Gullett of the 19th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 44 of the OCGA relating to recordation and registration of deeds and other instruments so as to require electric filing, to provide for the effect of a missing or incorrect tax parcel identification number on a recorded instrument and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary offers the following substitute to House Bill 974, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 44 of the OCGA relating to recordation and registration of deeds and other instruments, so as to provide for electronic filing, to provide for the effect, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 29th has asked unanimous consent that House Bill 974 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none and recognizes the senator from the 29th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to be notarized. Mr. President, HB 974 is a simple piece of legislation that requires the few clerks of superior courts here within our state that do not already provide the service of e-filing of deeds to do such. It is a piece of legislation that does not prevent those who already want to file their deeds to file them in the way, whether by mail or in person as they do now, but it will require them to have an electronic filing portal for those who want to come in and e-file. And if we don't have any questions, Mr. President, I would encourage everyone to support this legislation. And if no questions, I will yield the way.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 974? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agree on the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th for a motion.
Mr. President, I humbly beg for the unanimous consent of this body that the bonds of the table be unleashed so that House Bill 1008 may soar skyward for a vote.
Now, I've heard you do really good impressions. So who's that impression of? Not
Nobody really, Mr. President.
Okay, okay. Well, it's good. Maybe it's yours.
I was trying to imitate my rules chair here and with the energy of the rules chair, but not his voice.
The secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 1008. A bill by Representative Hawkins of the 27th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 11 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of Chapter 9 and Title 20 of the OCGA relating to Higher Education Savings Plan and Georgia Achieving a Better Life Experience, respectively, so as to provide for the governance of the Georgia ABLE program by the Board of Directors of the Georgia Higher Education Savings Plan and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions recommends that this do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Brass of the 28th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions offers the following substitute to House Bill 1008. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 11 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 and Chapter 9 of Title 30 of the OCGA relating to the Higher Education Savings Plan and the Georgia Achieving a Better Life Experience, respectively, so as to provide for the governance of a Georgia ABLE program by the Board of Directors of the Georgia Higher Education Savings Plan and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senator Albers of the 56th and others offer the following amendment number 1 to amend the committee substitute to House Bill 1008 by inserting after obligations on line 8 the following: to amend Chapter 4 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to vocational, technical, and adult education, so as to provide for a pilot program whereby qualifying private nonprofit entities provide instruction and other services for eligible students to attain a high school diploma and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 18th has asked unanimous consent that House Bill 1008 be taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. Oh, good evening, colleagues. We're now past the 6 o'clock hour. Hey, friends, this is a good bill. This is House Bill 1008. Back in 2016, some of us were here. This body passed the ABLE legislation, ABLE, which allowed for the disabled and their families to save in excess of $2,000 without losing their disability benefits by establishing a 529 savings plan. Considering that the administrative cost of each plan was to be borne by the family, many of who were already cash-strapped due to the extra cost of caring for disabled family members were able to avail themselves of this. The primary goal of this legislation is to create operational efficiencies for the state's because we have two programs, two 529 programs, savings programs. The highly successful Path to Savings 529 plan, and then the ABLE, A-B-L-E, the one that we passed in 2016, 529 program, which is also known as Georgia Stable. Bringing these two programs under the leadership of one board will improve the outreach and the support to families with disabilities in the same fashion as Georgia has done for the past 20 years for the P2C families that utilize that vehicle. This legislation, what does it do? Well, it basically consolidates the two boards of these two organizations that I've just described for you. First, the 529 ABLE program and the 529 Path to College program into a single board. The state treasurer will continue to administer both programs under the oversight of a single board, which will be expanded to include the commissioner at the Department of Behavioral Health and the Developmental Disabilities, the commissioner and the Department of Community Health, and an individual with a disability, a family member with a disability, or a disability advocates, The benefits are simply this: without the resources to promote the ABLE program and educate families, Georgia will continue to underachieve Georgians with, or underserve Georgians with disabilities. The state treasurer believes that this is the better way to serve these families by helping them take full advantage of both Georgia's 529 plans. It's a good move. It helps families that are in these situations, and it's a more efficient way for the money to be managed. Mr. President, I'm happy to answer any questions.
You do not have any questions.
Thank you very much. I'll yield the well. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 31st to speak to amendment number 1.
Good evening, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President. Amendment number 1 I want to talk to you, and I just want to say from the outset that House Bill 1008 is a great bill. It did pass the House 159-0, and we are using 1008 for a different bill, and I want to talk to you about that, what we've experienced over the last few weeks. I was hoping not to have to come down here, but I guess I'm going to have to come down here and have a conversation with you all about it. You will remember that we passed Senate Bill 231 in this body several weeks ago with a bipartisan vote of over 50 senators passing that bill out of this body. I would like to thank the senators that represent Macon, Savannah, Columbus, and others as we're working to build adult high schools in these communities, partnering with the private sector. But I want to tell you real briefly, my story and why this bill is important for so many Georgians as we kind of work through the issues that we're working through. Like many Americans, I grew up in a blue-collar home, and to us, the American dream was not just a phase, but it was a reality. My father was from Puerto Rico and was a Purple Heart veteran, mechanic in the trucking industry. Taught my brother that through hard work, anything was possible. Our story making it in this country is far from unique. Like millions of Georgians, people can credit their success to the American dream. But it is so much more than a talking point. It's what sets America and Georgia apart from the rest of the country. The notion that men and women of every race, nationality, and income can come together and create an exceptional state in human history in this nation, in this country, is remarkable. But our people are no stranger to accomplishing remarkable things. And that's the interesting thing about this bill is it is an outside-of-the-box, innovative idea to help 311,000 Georgians who do not have a high school diploma receive an education in our state. And as we've talked about before, this impacts families that are Latino, Black, Asian, inner-city families who are living in poverty. And because of whether you want to call it the threat, or whether you want to call it because it's something different, or whether you want to call it because you don't think it's a good idea because it hadn't been done your way in the past, I will submit to you that it is insane that we have politicians in this building that want to stand in the way of something seeking better for them, families that are better for them and their families. And I will tell you also, I will not back down because I'm a freshman. I will not back down because I'm Latino. I will not back down because I'm from West Georgia. I will not back down because this is the right thing to do and help families across this state. This bill is passed, and some may say that people in this body don't want it. I submit to you they do. I submit to you that representatives across the hall want this bill, especially for the families and the representatives fighting for those communities and those inner city communities in Columbus, in Macon, in Savannah, and other parts of the state to set us apart from other states. So, Mr. President, I ask for a favorable vote on amendment number 1 because there are over 300,000 Georgians wanting a chance to succeed and depending on us to do the right thing and not play political games in this building. So, Mr. President, unless there's any questions, I yield the will.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 1st to your left.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you yield?
Yes, Senator.
Is it not true that this legislation passed this chamber with over 50 votes about 2 weeks ago?
That is correct, Senator.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 19th with a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator, can you explain to me the funding for this pilot program?
So in the first year, we do not have a budget request. It is being funded by the private sector. And in year 2, in the second year and subsequent years past that, I'm sure there'll be a funding request coming from the technical college system as this legislation basically sets that up under them, which is different than the first bill, which originally when the bill passed this chamber, It was set up under the Charter School Commission.
Will Senator further yield?
Yes.
So moving it out from under the Charter School Commission, can you help me understand what that does?
So us moving it from out of the Charter School Commission into the TCSG system, basically we're creating a program for adults who could not complete high school to receive a high school diploma and create a pathway off-ramp directly into the technical colleges that basically are in these three communities where these facilities are being built this year.
Will the Senator further yield?
Yes, sir.
So there are 3 facilities currently being built?
Yes. They will be open later this year.
Will the Senator further yield?
Yes.
Can you tell us where those are?
They're in Macon, Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, and Columbus, Georgia.
Will the Senator further yield?
Sure.
So help me understand then how the charter system will be involved with this now.
So the Charter School Commission won't be involved in this legislation whatsoever. So under this amendment, they will be under the technical college system of Georgia if this bill is enacted and signed by the governor.
Do you continue to yield?
Sure.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd with a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it not true that this piece of legislation will help underserved communities and create a pathway for a better quality of life?
Yes, Senator, that is the case, and I think it creates an opportunity to allow for private investment, but it also allows for us to do something different that has never been done in this state's history.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th to your right with a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes, sir.
Senator, how will this work? In the technical schools, we have the GED program.
Right.
So how would this work? Isn't it true that a lot of people who are trying to move forward have had difficulties and getting a high school diploma even through the GED program, because isn't it true the program is kind of fast and you have to regurgitate over a period of time all the information?
Yes, sir. It's a great question. So these individuals that will go through this high school will basically be supported with coaches and instructors to help them almost micromanage their situation in order to basically succeed and obtain that high school diploma, which I believe, as you know, Senator, the high school diploma creates and demands a greater earning power upon their graduation versus a GED. Very good question.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yield the will.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1008 or Amendment Number 1? The chair sees none. All right, now we'll take up the adoption of Amendment Number 1. Is there objection to adoption of Amendment Number 1? The chair hears none, and Amendment Number 1 is adopted. The question now is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 5. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. The chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 20th.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to withdraw the conference committee report on Senate Bill 218 and that another report be filed. I'll be happy to speak to this motion if you'd like me to.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption on the conference committee?
Committees of Conference substitute to Senate Bill 218, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 18 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding prosecuting attorneys, so as to create the Prosecuting Attorneys Oversight Commission and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to speak to his motion, which I've never seen before.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just another in a series of embarrassing moments for me this session. The fun never ends. We made a little error, or there was an error made. I'm going to blame it on the House. Line 291, we need to fix that so we can bring it back to you perfected and ready to go.
Do you yield for questions?
I'll be happy to answer.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd to your left with a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, I was having the same thought in my head as our presiding officer. I was wondering, pursuant to what rule can we withdraw conference committee reports? Can you point me to that rule?
I'd have to refer to the Secretary of the Senate.
The secretary reminded me that he's asking for unanimous consent. That's the provision that he's asking for. That's what that's the section it's laying under.
As a courtesy.
Thank you.
You have no more questions.
Thank you.
All right, the senator from the 20th. Would any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 20th has asked for unanimous consent to withdraw the conference committee report on Senate Bill 218 and that another report be filed. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and the motion carries. All right, here's the posture. It is 6:18. We are on a good pace here. Thank you for all of your hard work so far. We're going to take a dinner break. In 10 minutes, dinner will be ready down in the Secretary's conference room or office or area, quadrant of the Capitol. In 10 minutes, that'll be ready for everybody, and we'll be back here in an hour, roughly. Thank you. We'll stand at ease.